Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Netzband, and this is...
I'm Jennifer Jeffrey.
And we are here today to talk to you about data visualization, also known as creating infographics, also known as information visualization, and all that jazz, and giving you some tips and tricks on how to do it efficiently and effectively. So first things first, what the heck is visualization of data or information? And quite honestly, it's those really awesome, pictures and infographics that get the point across really quickly without you having to read a bunch of paragraphs, right? It's getting it done and out of the way through visual information rather than written out information. So where does this fit into society? Well, it fits in a lot of different ways. The obvious one for me would be top sheets for reports, right? So when we are trying to give our bosses information in the future or think about like government officials, they're not necessarily going to have a ton of time to absorb 300 pages of data, but they're going to be able to get the point by looking at an infographic, by looking at a top sheet that has it all there, that visualizes it, because we intake information visually. We are a visual society. So that's a really great place where that exists. Also think healthcare, think teaching, right? Any teachers out there, this really works with students as well. Think any of those areas when it comes to public marketing, infographics are significantly helpful. And also social media, think Instagram, right? So that's where this fits into the society. And then how the heck does it fit into your coursework? Well, you can put it in your research papers. How about creating posters for a poster session? How about any of these other things? Maybe you have a professional Twitter account and you want to post about your research there. It's another way of getting that across. All right, so these are ways that it works within your coursework as well, and all that jazz. Jen, do you have anything you want to add?
Just some things. It might be a place where you want to explain to an audience that's not familiar with your research or your discipline, and you want to give them a picture first and then talk around the picture. So
yeah,
it can be a tool to communicate with people about a complicated subject.
Yeah, that's perfect. So how do we go about this process? Well, first thing, understand that it's a process. This is not something that you're going to want to just create an image and that's it. No, there's some planning that goes with it, right? So we want to make sure that when we go about this process, we are taking the proper steps so that we are being efficient and effective in our work. We don't want to waste our time, right? That's what all of this is about. So you're going to want to do all the research ahead of time, right? And then once you get all that data, figure out, okay, what story do I want to tell? The story matters. The information that you want your reader, your audience to be able to grasp is important, because that's going to go into what type of infographic am I going to create? What information do I want to spotlight? What's the end goal of this graphic, right? And with all of that in mind, then you can start figuring out your planning of actually designing the infographic. But you can't do that until you know what data you have. This is not something that you can start figuring out before you've done the research or collected the research, all right? So that's really the process that goes about this. And then you embed it in either a top sheet, or you just, the way it is, it goes out on social media or as like a poster session or things along those lines. Anything you want to add?
No, just that make sure that you know what you want to say before you start designing your infographic, which is what Melissa just said, but it's almost impossible to do it the other way.
Yeah.
I know this from experience.
You don't want to waste your time. That's the biggest thing that you're going to see that we try to get across is, how can I do this effectively and efficiently? Because we don't have all the time in the world, and we want to use our time effectively. So now we're going to get into the tools behind creating infographics. There are tons of free tools out there, and I'm going to start with one, and then I'm going to hand it over to Jennifer because she's got a ton of specific information on this. So the first thing that I want to show you is Canva. And Canva is a really great resource for people who, let's see Here we go. So this is a great resource for people who don't have a lot of graphic design experience. You can create Instagram posts. It gives you the sizes that you want. And then what I generally do for ideas and inspiration is I just search infograph in the search bar up here. We can go straight to infographic. And we search it. And there we are. And it gives you a bunch of different layouts and ideas to play with. And then you can edit these and make them your own. But it gives you some setup so that you're not starting from scratch, which I really, really like and I find helpful. Sometimes I see something like this over here and I'm like, I really love the look, but maybe the layout isn't quite what I want. Maybe I like this look with this layout up here, right? So you can kind of figure out, you know, what's your style, what works with the information you're trying to get across. And then how am I actually going to organize that information so that, you know, it's able to be absorbed quickly and concisely. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to let Jennifer take over for a moment and show us some other tools. Yep. There we go. And show you some other really great tips and tricks and some best practices and also some bad examples as well, because those are always fun to look at.
So I haven't used all of these, so you'll have to, you know, if you find one that you think, I found an article that talks about what they're about, and you can go and poke around on their pages. And one note about these different tools is that they will have tutorials, and I recommend if you pick one or if you're experimenting, kind of look at what the features are and see if they speak to you, and watch a couple of tutorials. You know, you don't have to get into the weeds with it, but definitely if you pick one, you might want to watch at least the initial ones, like getting started, because they're trying to show you what most people use, and it'll save you time in the end. Just dedicate like half an hour to kind of learning the site. So I'm just scrolling down through this article, and Piktochart is one that I have used, and I like this one. It's like Canva. It's easy to use. They don't get into things too much, and you know, depending on what data you are or how much graphic design training you have, you probably want to stick with the ones that are easier to use rather than, I found this other one called BizMe in here in this list. And I looked around on their website a little bit, and I probably wouldn't choose that just because I don't like to relearn things. I like, you know, I already know how to use Piktochart, so I would use it. And then I want to point out, and we'll put links to this in the bottom so you can look and explore this yourself. There's Canva and Google Charts. And it also depends on what kind of data you have and how you want to present it. So, and the reason why I'm scrolling down is I wanted to show you Cartograph, which Melissa has used herself. Yep. And that might be if you have something more geographical to display. So we'll let you explore this article yourselves, but just know that like these places are trying to help you to use their tools. So they do have a lot of resources on the website, and it's pretty user friendly. And you know, if you find one that you really like, definitely let Melissa and I know, because we'd like to know what you use and what you like and why you like it.
Yeah. So, that's really great. And one of the reasons that we're going to be attaching all of these links to the bottom of this video is to make it so that you can go through and figure out what works for you. Like, I know Canva, I'm comfortable with Canva. I've already learned how to use it. So I'm more likely to go to that right away. And if I can't do what I want to do with that, I already know. And I'm going to start figuring out, okay, what do I want to be looking at? And this is where, honestly, Googling it really comes into play. Google is your best friend, because you need to figure out, you know, what do other people have experience with? Maybe something really, really sucks and isn't user-friendly. They're going to save you some time by you just reading that quick paragraph in that article.
Exactly. And that's, we're going to include a couple more. I found two good articles on 62 of the best infographics, and they talk about why they're good.
which is great.
And you kind of get a picture of like, you know, what kind of things. And they also have 11 mistakes that you never want to make. And I thought this was a pretty good, quickly digestible article on this. And again, like Melissa says, you can Google this too for yourself and see what else you can find. But again, I don't know about you, but I can go very deep into this and not do my actual infographic. So we tried to pick out some articles that, you know, were easily digestible and got that information for you. And so there's definitely examples in here of what not to do, like, you know, make sure all your data adds up. If you're making a pie chart, do things where people are used to seeing information displayed in a pie chart a certain way. So they go into that a little bit. And the nice thing about these tools is that they do arrange things the way people would normally do it. So you're probably not going to get too far off what looks good and what people are able to understand when you're using one of these tools, because they do those templates for a reason.
Yeah, so take advantage of them. They've already done half the work for you.
And let your research and your story and what you care about tell the story more than, you know, the picture. The picture is a way to make it easily understood for people. But really what's important is your research and what you want to tell everybody and you want to make sure everybody knows. So, you know, kind of keep that in mind as the higher level on what this, and don't worry about how well you do infographics, because it does take practice to do it too. So.
Yeah, that's great. We're also going to be adding some links to some TED Talks and some other YouTube videos just to give you a little bit of inspiration. Some different ideas. TED Talks are also really great for just getting some background knowledge and just sparking inspiration in you. So we're going to have those in there as well, just to help you out with some other resources. Biggest thing is if you have questions, reach out to us, your librarians, to your professor. Always ask your professor questions for help, especially if you're like, hey, I created this infographic. Does it fit well here or here, right? Or should I tweak this, right? They want to help you through this process. That's what they're here for. So ask them those questions. That's important. And as always, your librarians are always here to help you as well, per usual.
And, you know, another question you could ask, you can have other people look at it maybe that aren't in your class and say, do you understand what this, you know, I'm going to talk through this a little bit, but does it, you know, does it make sense to you when you look at it? Is there something that doesn't make sense on this?
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to leave it there. If you have questions, comments, concerns, please reach out. You can email the libraries at our general email, which is library@potsdam.edu, or email us directly. All right. We hope you have a great day. And again, if you have questions, let us know.
Have fun with your infographics.
Yes.